Pointe Gourde in Chaguaramas has a colorful history. It was once an estate held by slave-owning planter families, then a limestone quarry, and at some point, as is evidenced by abandoned bunkers and remnants from the wartime, a US military base or outpost. Today, the dry forest has reclaimed most of the area, and what's more interesting about the flora present at Pointe Gourde is that it is not present anywhere else on mainland Trinidad, but rather on the Bocas Islands. Scattered throughout the area, though, are sites of interest to the explorer, history buff, and sightseer alike. This fork in the road leaves one with a choice, left or right. To the right, the road goes on for quite some way, and the surrounding forest changes from dense brush to mature trees, shady groves, and cooler air. Past the grove and the woodland is again dominated by dry forest. As the route begins to climb, one can see the blues and greens of the ocean through the many branches of the dry trees on the hillside in the distance. Ahead, a man-made structure comes into view, then suddenly, a sound, and the realization that you are not alone in this forest. Alas, the road comes to a dead end, and at its head, a modern radar tower. A panoramic view from this point reveals mountains to the north and the sea to the south. Retracing our steps, we are halted upon the site of a shadowy outline through the bushes. Upon arriving at the clearing, we discover two bunkers that are littered with old wartime radios, transponders, and other antique devices reminiscent of the time. Returning to the trail, we again meet the fork in the road, and this time, we go left. This route begins in a descent and past two more bunkers amidst the many trees and shrubs that enshroud the area. Keeping left on the path leads one along a rock-laden track that is sporadically marked by colored ribbons. On the right, one would observe several rough-cut footpaths that appear to lead closer to the water, some to the water's edge and others at much higher elevations. Eventually, a peculiar and somewhat unnerving figure comes into view, leaving more questions than answers. Doubling back on this detour, then further along the main route, the sound of lapping waves becomes more discernible. The descending path eventually flattens at sea level just as the water comes into view. At the water's edge, the ruins of a docking area for boats, and a few meters off, in the water, the decaying hulls of several abandoned boats. On one, the weird belize can just barely be discerned in its flaking white paint on the starboard bow. Beyond the wreck, across the water, is the captivating view of the waterfront from an uncommon vantage point. The forest green of the mountains in the distance is rivaled only by the deep teal of the placid Gulf. Pointe Gourde, with its many features, makes for an ample adventure with much to see, much to do, and much to find, yet still leaves the mind to ponder upon its mysteries. I'm Carrie Roberts, giving you a glimpse into the paradise we have right here.